Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the AU calls for dialogue between West African leaders, ECOWAS and founding members of the bloc, Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali. The trio is leaving, accusing ECOWAS of betraying African interests with sanctions it brought in over military takeovers in the three countries. Also, Job Sikhala, seen by many as the face of Zimbabwe's political resistance to the ruling party, gets a suspended 2-year sentence after spending 595 days in pre-trial detention. Supporters say the incitement to violence conviction he faced was politically motivated. And I am joined by global Afrobeats sensation Davido ahead of his concert here in Paris. He's one of Nigeria's big three in the genre and has been nominated for 3 awards for the 2024 Grammys, including for the new category for Best African Music Performance. But first, the African Union says that it deeply regrets the decisions of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger to leave ECOWAS. The three are run by military regimes who took over in coups between 2020 and 2022. And they've banded together in a mutual defense pact called the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES. Now, they've all been hit hard by sanctions that the regional bloc ECOWAS brought in response to military takeovers. And although the African Union is still hoping for regional dialogue over the AES's decision to exit, the three countries say that ECOWAS has betrayed Pan-African principles and fallen under the influence of foreign powers. And that most likely is meant to be interpreted as France. Our regional correspondents tell us more.
This market in Dakar is renowned for its shea butter, its jewellery, and perhaps most of all, its colourful fabrics. Most of the sellers here originally come from Mali, and all of them have been following the news of the country's withdrawal from ECOWAS. Abubakar has lived in Senegal for 15 years and is delighted by this development.
We are very happy with this. ECOWAS hasn't brought us anything positive in years.
Many Malians are angry at the sanctions imposed by ECOWAS, which hit living standards hard for those who remained in the country. Ibrahim Diarra still holds a grudge.
If ECOWAS was really behind the population, it would not have inflicted this embargo. ECOWAS is not for the people. That is why our people are angry and wanted to leave.
Many of these sellers have lived in Senegal for years. Some are worried about how the current situation could impact their daily lives.
We should abandon the idea. We should negotiate with ECOWAS. That would be better for us foreigners living here.
Alassane regularly travels between Dakar and Bamako for work.
Senegal and Mali are friends and brothers. Politics is politics, but for the majority of the population, we will make things work between us. As for the future, we have our fingers crossed that things will be okay.
Mali's decision, alongside that of Burkina Faso and Niger to leave ECOWAS, has been hailed by many migrants living in Senegal. But their withdrawal could have painful consequences, limiting the free movement of goods and, even more importantly, of people.
Now, an opposition figure seen by many as the face of resistance to Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF party is to be freed after spending nearly 2 years in pre-trial detention. Job Sikhala of the Citizens Coalition for Change party was given a suspended 2-year sentence on Tuesday for inciting violence. His supporters say that the charges are politically motivated and an example of the government's crackdown on dissent. Our Nyasha Chingono was at the courthouse in Harare.
Job Sikhala is now a free man, his lawyers say. He has been incarcerated for nearly 600 days for inciting public violence in 2022. He has been given a wholly suspended 2-year sentence. His lawyers had argued that Sikhala deserved a lighter sentence since he had spent 600 days in prison. His lawyer Alison Komo said they will appeal the sentence at the High Court.
Because the prosecution should not have happened in the first place. You know, we must not glorify things that are wrong. My respectful view is that his arrest in the first place was not supposed to be effected. Equally, the prosecution and subsequent conviction. So that being the case, we are not arresting. We've got instruction to take the matter up to the High Court on appeal. What we want is an acquittal, not a conviction with a lighter sentence. No, we disagree with that.
Sikhala's incarceration has been largely viewed by political analysts as a claim down on opposition movement in Zimbabwe. Now that he is out, his family and friends, including supporters, can be happy that he is back.
Now, would Afrobeats be Afrobeats without my next guest? Davido is one of those artists whose name is almost a genre in itself. Am I being hyperbolic? Maybe. But the Nigerian American is part of an exclusive superstar musical elite from the continent who've helped take international understanding, demand, and appreciation for Afro-inspired creativity to new heights. And that isn't hyperbole. Davido's been nominated for 3 awards for the 2024 Grammys. That's the most prestigious and significant awards ceremony in the music industry worldwide. And they'll be being held in LA on February 4th. Ahead of that, he's here in Paris, due to be playing at the Accord Arena on the 31st. Davido, thanks so much for making time to speak to me. I know that you've had a really busy schedule, so we really appreciate it. So first of all...
Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. So first of all, so you've been this new category that's now been inserted into the Grammys, the Best African Music Performance. What do you think about it? Late to the party or right on time?
I mean, God's timing is the best. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? You know, African music has been dominant for years. You know what I'm saying? So if you're asking me if we should have gotten recognition since, definitely. But you know what I'm saying? Things take time. And like I said, God's timing is the best. You know what I'm saying? And I'm really happy for this new category. You know what I'm saying? Not only for myself, but for, the other nominees that were also nominated alongside me. You know what I'm saying? It's something very, very beautiful. Given, people back home can sit down and be like, whoa, I can actually make African music and win a Grammy, you know what I'm saying? So that's just really amazing to see, I'll say God's timing. I wouldn't say late. I'll say God's timing.
But I mean, audiences around the world have been appreciating Afrobeats more and more. And I often hear people say recently there's been an explosion in Afrobeats. But I mean, your career is 11 years long. Audiences, listeners have been following the genre, appreciating it for a pretty long time now. What has changed, do you think, that's led to this kind of industry acknowledgement of the value of not just Afrobeats, but African music around the world?
I think African culture as a whole has elevated. And I feel like, but I think it's visibility. You know what I'm saying? We've always been lit. You know what I'm saying? It's always been lit in Nigeria. People are like, oh, I'm going to Nigeria for Christmas. I'm going to Ghana. It's always been that way for 20, 30 years. You know what I'm saying? The music has always been good. But obviously, we've never been given that opportunity to be heard or given platforms. Now you can see us on platforms. You turn on your radio in New York, you hear Afrobeat. You turn on your radio in Paris, London, Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? You hear the music. So I always knew that if we were given the opportunity to be heard, and I always knew that people would love it. The culture as a whole, not only music, food, fashion. You know what I'm saying? The list goes on. You know what I'm saying? I'm just happy that the Africans in the diaspora are proud and can stand up and be like, I'm from Africa, no matter where in the world they are. You understand?
Yeah, I think that's utterly undeniable. This year you've been nominated for three Grammys. You've had 3 nominations at the Grammys. For you personally, for someone who's already, in whatever shape the scene of Afrobeats has always been at the forefront, one of the big names. What does this acknowledgement from an awards show like the Grammys mean to you personally?
Man, shout out to the Recording Academy. You know what I'm saying? This is my first nomination ever. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy to just get 3 at one time. But we we worked really, really hard. You know what I'm saying, on this album, on this record. And you know what I'm saying, I was just always patient. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. If you ask me if I deserve Grammys in the past, if you ask me, I need 20 Grammys already. even before this year. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but like I say, like God's timing is the best, and we'll see what happens, man.
So you're a Nigerian American. You travel all around the world with your music. Do you feel any difference in the way that your audiences in Africa, or even specifically in Nigeria, interact with your sets, with your music, to, let's say, Europe or any other region?
I mean, definitely every region has its different, feeling. But you know what I'm saying, there's one major thing. People are smiling and people are enjoying themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like when Davido's music is playing, it's like you're forgetting about any problem you have. And you're just really focusing on the music. And that's what I like. When I put on my music, it just takes everybody out of whatever situation is going on. We're just in one realm.
And does that work for you as well, personally? Or are you very kind of externally focused on your audience? Or do you yourself feel transported by the music you're creating?
Sometimes I get carried away with my own music. Like I'll be like, yo, this guy is so good. I'm talking about myself. So, but sometimes like I get carried away. But it'd be nice though. It'd be nice. Music is spiritual, so sometimes you can just lose yourself. Like even sometimes when I'm performing, I just go crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like especially when you feel it so deep. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that is the definition of lit, I guess. I mean, that's I guess, is what you're trying to communicate when you talk about the passion that you put into your music, or that people kind of give back to you when you're at concerts. But looking at like your specific, some of the music you actually made, the actual albums, your fourth one is one of the ones for which you've won your Grammy nominations. What's that about? Tell us a bit about the story behind that.
Timeless, the album. I mean, this album represents to me patience. That's why I call it timeless. But apart from that, like all the music I was making, I wanted it to be timeless. Whether you listen to the music this year or in 3 years or in 4 years, I wanted it to be timeless. So, that's why we named it Timeless. And everything that this album has represented is patience. You know what I'm saying? You were talking about the Grammys. Like, I've been doing music 13 years. You know what I'm saying? So I've sold over 20 million records. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's time. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this album represents.
You're going to be in front of audiences here in Paris on the 31st, tomorrow night. What should they expect? I think maybe you've kind of you've touched upon it a bit in what you've already said, but do you have anything big planned for tomorrow night?
Definitely, like, you know what I'm saying, like with these runs of shows that we've been doing, we've been putting so much in production. Like, it's been crazy. The O2 was crazy. Like, we had 3 stages. You know what I'm saying?
Because you were in London last night, weren't you?
No, 2 nights ago.
Okay.
2 nights. But yeah, it was amazing. I just can't. I like Paris. French people as a whole have just been dear to my heart. Like even since my first records, even when I did yes, Keleu, then I started getting books in like Francophone countries. You know what I'm saying? So like I've always loved like French people, France, Paris. I come here to chill. I recorded like 3 songs on my album in Paris last year. Like
Davido?
Nobody knew I was here. I just came, I chilled. Like I always come with my boys, chill.
I can't think. I'm gonna. Unfortunately, it pains me, and I'm sure it pains our viewers so much that we've run out of time. But I think that kind of tipping your hat to Paris is a great way of wrapping up our chat. Thanks so much for making time. I know that you lost your voice. You've been running around since the break of dawn. Wishing you the very best of luck at the concert tomorrow night at the Accord Arena. Thanks very much for you all for joining us for Eye on Africa. Do so again if you can. We'll leave you with some of the sounds of one of the kings of Afrobeats.
And the light shall be on us.
Move to the rhythms of Africa. The Africa Cup of Nations from January the 13th to February the 11th on France 24.